Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Let Us Hear podcast. I am host JJ Raya, and on today's video, I'm going to be talking about March Madness. So, before I begin, I just want to apologize to all my subscribers and also new listeners who haven't subbed yet. Um, but on my last video, I did say I was going to try to be as consistent as possible with uploading videos, and as you know, it's been about probably 3 or 4 months maybe since I've made a video, and um, mentally I just wasn't there. I had to find myself again, but um, I just I'm just thankful that I was able to find myself again. Get back into the podcast room and start the grind to start uploading these videos. A podcast um, is something that I've wanted to do. Um, my goal is to become known and continue to work my way into the podcasting and broadcasting industry. So you know, I'm extremely determined to do whatever I have to get there. So it starts today. We're talking about March Madness. So now that I got that out the way, um, let's get into this to the madness. So let's let's begin with my most intriguing matchups, and I'm going to be picking one from each region. So from the West region, I have Mississippi State versus Michigan State. Mississippi State surprised a lot of people in the SEC tournament, taking down Tennessee in an extremely fashionable matter. Throughout the whole game, they just dominated from the tip all the way to the finish. Tennessee, they had zero chance at all to win that game, and I believe they won that game by, it might have been by 20 points. I can't recall, but I know it was in that 15 to 20 plus range. But they did end up losing to Auburn in the SEC championship, but it just goes to show how well coached that Mississippi State team is and how much dog they got in them. They they have been the underdog throughout their entire season, but they continue to fight and fight. And once they came across Tennessee, I guess Tennessee just wasn't ready, because going into that game, the last time Tennessee had played, it was at Kentucky, and they were also pretty much dominate the whole entire game, and then they they come back 6 days later to get dominated by a Mississippi State team that really shouldn't have uh, um, been able to do that to them. And now with Michigan State has had a terrible season to the time Izzo standards, but it's now March. The madness has began, and it's like, how can you fade Time Izzo when it's March? I just don't see Michigan State losing in the first round because of Time Izzo. But like I said, this Michigan State team is not Michigan State basketball. They haven't been this whole entire season, and with Mississippi State coming in off of the SEC tournament, they have some momentum. They have their confidence. Mississippi State and Michigan State, I believe, is going to be a very interesting matchup, and I think it's going to go down to the wire. And my next matchup out the East, I got San Diego State versus UAB. San Diego State was in the national championship last year against UConn, although they lost. But I feel like they can be on upset alert in this first round matchup against UAB. San Diego State, they have great defense, but also they're very suspect on the offensive end. Sometimes they get cold. They have cold stretches. They're shooting an average of 43% from the field, and that ranks 202nd. And also UAB, they score on average about 75 points per game, while San Diego State is only putting up 68. But like I said, San Diego State has extremely great defense, so that UAB number may be lower in this game, but I feel if UAB is able to reach 75 points, I don't believe that San Diego State will be able to match that. So if UAB starts off hot, shots are falling, I do believe that UAB can upset the San Diego State team who was in the national championship last game. Now out the South, I have Texas Tech versus NC State, and NC State had an amazing ACC tournament. They played 5 games in 5 days and won five straight, upsetting my team, North Carolina, in the ACC tournament. Going into that game, North Carolina was 11-point favorites, um, and no one gave NC State a chance to win that game, including me. I checked once I got out the gym what the score was, and it was closer than I thought it would have been. So I started watching the game, and we just North Carolina didn't look like North Carolina that day. But that's besides the fact. Just credit to NC State um, for just playing 5 games in 5 days and then still being able to go toe to toe with one of the best teams in the nation and winning the ACC tournament and punching their ticket into March Madness. Both teams average about 75 points per game, and really all across the board, their numbers are pretty well matched to each other. So I feel like this is going to be a nail bite finish. I believe it's going to be a close game all throughout, but ultimately I do have Texas Tech winning, just because they have the experience of being in the tournament. They know what it's like to be in the tournament, and it may be hard to fade this NC State team that's coming off extremely high momentum after winning the ACC tournament. But I am going with Texas Tech here. And then out the Midwest, I have Kansas versus Sanford. Um, Now Kansas is all banged up, and before I started recording, uh, a report came out that Kevin McCullough um, is not going to be playing um, throughout the tournament. He's had uh, knee injuries, ankle injuries, but he's just not able to go. From what reports are saying, and still Dickinson, their center, who's basically their best player, is also banged up, and they were both 20-point scorers. Stanford averages about 84 points per game, while Kansas only averages 75. And Kansas, they don't have depth at all. They have an elite starting five with McCullers in, and now that McCullers isn't playing, that's one less player, and that's one less bench player, because now someone from the bench is going to have to fill his role in the starting lineup. So really, Kansas is going to probably have a 6-man rotation. And with the game being in Utah, elevation being an impact, um, I just believe that Sanford will be able to match Kansas' energy. Honestly, I think Kansas is going to have to match Sanford's energy because Sanford plays at a fast pace, and if they're able to knock their shots down, it's gonna force Kansas to have to play up to pace. And like I said, with the game being in Utah, Kansas lacking depth, um, things could get really ugly for Kansas, and they're definitely on upset watch for sure. And I believe that they will get upset. I do think Sanford wins this game, um, because not only do they have an up tempo pace, they have a bench. Well, they don't have they love to use their bench. They're not afraid to turn to the bench. Um, and it's like Sanford has nothing to lose. So um, those are my 4 most intriguing matchups, and my honorable mention is Oregon versus South Carolina in the Midwest. Like Texas Tech and NC State, I believe this matchup as well is going to be back and forth all game long. But I honestly think that Oregon can pull off the upset and beat South Carolina here. Now, let's talk about my Elite Eight and my Final Four predictions. So, my Elite Eight, I have UConn and Auburn meeting in one game. Then I have BYU and Iowa State meeting in one game. North Carolina, Alabama meeting in one game. Arizona and Baylor meeting in one game. And then on the other side of the bracket, I have Creighton and Tennessee meeting in a game. And I have Purdue and Sanford meeting in a game. And also, I have Houston and Wisconsin. And then I have Marquette and Kentucky. Oh, sorry. I just gave you guys my Sweet 16. I just gave you guys my Sweet 16 matchups. I apologize for that. My Elite Eight. My Elite Eight. I have UConn versus Iowa State, Houston versus Kentucky, um, North Carolina versus Arizona, Purdue and Tennessee, and advancing to the Final Four, I have Iowa State and North Carolina, and Kentucky versus Tennessee. And then for my championship matchup, I have North Carolina versus Kentucky. And like I said, North Carolina is my team. It may sound biased, but I do have North Carolina winning, and I really like the route that they have to get to in order to get to the national championship. Um, a few teams, the teams that I have them running into are Michigan State, Alabama, and of course Arizona, um, in the Elite Eight. But and if we get a North Carolina and Arizona matchup, that game is going to be crazy because for the ones that have been keeping up um, with college basketball, uh, star point guard from Arizona, Caleb Love, uh, from leaving transferred from North Carolina to Arizona this past season. Um, and if Arizona and North Carolina meet, that game's just going to be insane. I love Caleb Love. The last time we were in the national championship, he had an insane March Madness. So I expect nothing different from him, honestly, in this tournament. Um, but that game is just. I really hope we get that matchup because that game will be insane. Now, let's finish this video off with my teams that I believe can make a deep run. And I'm going to start with BYU. As you guys heard me say, I had them in my Sweet 16 against Iowa State. And honestly, I believe that BYU can beat Iowa State, although I do have them losing that game. Um, BYU, they were on the verge of giving Iowa State their first home loss. Um, BYU they can shoot the heck out the ball, and they're really a hit or miss. If those threes are falling, you're in for a long day. But if they're not, then you're more than likely in the clear. But I really like this BYU team. They're great on offense. They're solid enough on defense, and like I said, if they can get past Iowa State, they're right there in the Final Four meeting. They're right there in the Final Four meeting UConn. The next team that I have coming out the South is Wisconsin. Wisconsin, I just feel like is one of those teams that you have to give. You just have to give them the respect. They just took down Purdue in the Big Ten tournament, and then they went to the championship against Illinois, and they gave Illinois a run for their money. And I believe if they play that game again, I believe Wisconsin wins that game. The first upset that I have Wisconsin giving these bracket in my bracket is against Duke, and a lot of people have Wisconsin on upset watch against James Madison, but I just believe that Wisconsin's going to come to play and they're going to handle business. Although I believe that game's going to be pretty close, but I have them advancing to the round of 32. They meet Duke, and then I have them upsetting Duke because Duke, as a North Carolina fan, Duke is not even like talking from my North Carolina side, but Duke is just trash to me. Filipowski, he's very overrated to me. Proctor, he didn't take that sophomore year jump that people expected him to. I do give my respect to Jerry McCain. I did not think that he was gonna have a freshman season how he had, but honestly, Jerry McCain is their best player because, like I said, Filipowski is trash. And then ultimately, I do have Wisconsin losing to Houston, but to me, I feel like Houston is very beatable. Although I think they only have like 3 or 4 losses on the year, but Wisconsin, I believe, is like one of those teams that will be able to take down Houston because Houston is great on the offensive end. I mean, on the defensive end, and they're so on the offensive end. And Wisconsin has great defense. Um, I know they're gonna have a great defensive game plan, and that game may be pretty boring to watch, but I believe that Wisconsin could pull off an upset. But ultimately, I do have Houston moving on, and then um, out the West, a team that I believe can make a run is Baylor. Baylor is 15th in offensive efficiency. They're 40%. They shoot nearly 40% from three and 50% from the field. They have elite guard play with Ray J. Dennis. He's a great playmaker, and he can also give you 15 points if he has to. But he's gonna look to pass first. And um, I have Baylor losing to Arizona um, in the Sweet 16, but I do believe that Baylor could take down Arizona because Arizona has shown that they are beatable. They're very Arizona is a one-on-one type of team, and Baylor is great on the defensive end, and they can beat you from the outside or the inside. So, and with Coach Scott Drew, I just believe that he's going to have his team ready to compete in every single game. Um, you know, they haven't been to the Elite Eight since 2021 when they did win the national championship, and I believe that they could get to the um, to the Elite Eight this year if they upset Arizona, and if North Carolina has to play Baylor, um, I would I would be pretty nervous honestly. And then the last team that I have that can make a deep run is Creighton, and they are from the Midwest, and they're just like Baylor. They shoot nearly 50% from the field and 40% from the three. They make about 11 threes per game, which is fifth best across the nation, and they're 17th in offense efficiency. And Creighton, they're just a fundamental sound team. They don't like to do too much. They just, go out there, shoot the heck out the ball, and you know they live and die by the three, and they're willing to play that way. I ultimately have Creighton losing to Tennessee, but Tennessee is one of those teams that always folds in March Madness, like Purdue. So I this was the first bracket that I made, but if I were to make a second bracket, I would definitely have Creighton beating Tennessee. I honestly think that Creighton could come out the Midwest and take it all the way to the Final Four, um, and meet Houston in the South. And I think that Creighton could beat Houston as well. So we Creighton could be a sleepy national championship team, um, but that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Like I said, I do plan to be extremely consistent. So just uh hit me with a subscribe, turn on post notifications because I will be posting my round recaps throughout the national championship. I mean throughout March Madness. I'm gonna try to get some NFL draft videos out. Gonna give you guys some NBA talk. Uh, I'm just gonna be active on the channel. So yeah, just make sure you guys subscribe, turn on post notifications, give me a like on this video, and let me know down in the comments who you guys have winning the NCAA tournament, and who you guys think can make a sneaky run in this tournament. That's gonna do it.